Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press. I'm here to offer a brief rendition of the developments in this region, especially the last couple of weeks. We've seen a spike in conflict since the open declaration of war by Abiy Ahmed and his partner in crime, Esayas Afewerki, against the people of Tigray. I think it would be entirely appropriate for us to give you an overview of the developments that have transpired since, like I say, the declaration of open war against the people of Tigray. Tigray has been fighting war that has been launched against it by Abiy Ahmed and his partner in crime in practically all fronts. There has been fighting in the western part of Tigray, there has been fighting in the northwestern part of Tigray, and fighting in the northern part of Tigray, eastern part of Tigray, and southern part of Tigray. And we still continue to fight both Eritrea's forces and Abiy Ahmed's forces. The special police forces of Tigray, the militia forces of Tigray, and the generally the defense units of Tigray have been waging a very heroic struggle against the aggressors, against the invaders. And we have been witnessing an increasing level of casualties, especially in the western part of the western part of Tigray and southern part of Tigray. And as we speak, there still is conflict in northwestern part of the country and northern part of the country. And more particularly in the Raya part of the front. And our forces have been heroically defending against the aggressors, against the invaders, and will continue to inflict heavy damage against the enemy. And we are obviously interested in making sure that the invaders do not have a free ride in their open vow to subjugate Tigray, to arm twist Tigray into submission. But the most important thing is Abiy's forces are not particularly interested in engaging us in the battlefield alone. The number of people who are being targeted through all kinds of attacks, through all kinds of asymmetrical attacks by Abiy's forces is increasing by the day. And Abiy's planes have been, maybe Esayas' planes also have been attacking targets, mostly civilian targets in many parts of Tigray for quite some time now. And as per to kill children and innocent women, I think he still continues to send his planes and to bombard densely populated towns in Tigray as part of his effort to arm twist Tigray into submission. Today there have been engagements in the Zalambasa front, in the Raya front, and another engagement in around Oromarai, and obviously Abiy's forces are more interested in bombarding citizens out of security, bombarding towns indiscriminately, and we continue to take actions to neutralize whatever efforts they are undertaking. As we have been saying it several times over, will continue to take appropriate measures against installations in parts of Ethiopia or other parts of the region, which are being used to stage attacks against Tigray, and we will continue to take appropriate measures or targeted strikes against areas which we believe are being used as staging grounds for attacks against Tigray. Enemy has been suffering heavy casualties. We're not particularly interested in morbid excitement. We're not particularly interested in giving you an inventory of the number of people killed, but it's very, very unfortunate that innocent youth, particularly from Amhara and other parts of the country, are being used as cannon fodders by Abiy Ahmed in his quest to subjugate parts of the country, including Tigray. The number of Abiy's forces who have been killed in Raya, including the number who got killed today, and the number of forces who've been decimated in the west and south, northwestern part of the northwestern part of Tigray, including today, is nothing short of astounding, and it's very unfortunate. We're dealing with the days and loss of life of youth who could otherwise have contributed a lot to the betterment of the lives of their people. But Abiy obviously is not interested in ensuring the betterment of his people, the lives of his people, much like his mentor and his partner in crime, Abiy Ahmed. He's more interested in whether cannons can do the trick when it comes to arm twisting people into submission. But Tigray's forces will continue to take appropriate measures, and will continue to take measures to defend ourselves. And whatever strategic or tactical maneuvers we make will ultimately culminate in an absolute victory of the people of Tigray against the invaders. That's what I can tell you today. Well, specific. If you're interested in specifics, we can have other arrangements. We'll make sure we'll have more regular briefings. But this, I think, will do as far as briefing goes. Any questions? I can take one question.
Crisis, and what's being done to mitigate this? And secondly, is there any peaceful way out of this crisis? I know there have been some internal and external calls for peace.
Well, as far as the humanitarian crisis goes, it's really tragic. Like I said earlier, Abiy's forces are very much interested in wanton killing of civilians, wanton bombardment of towns. In fact, Esayas' forces have a contingent of trucks that are meant to export, to transport goods and items that they steal from the towns they temporarily occupy. It's rather strange. Abiy's forces are working in cahoots with Esayas' forces in the destruction of private property in many parts of Tigray. And the number of civilians who are being displaced is mind-boggling. We know of a recent report, a very recent report in part of Western Tigray, where more than 50,000 people are being sequestered. They are not being taken care of by anyone. I know ICRC is, I think, closely watching the situation on the ground, but they are being sequestered there, and they have no crime other than not being particularly excited about Abiy's invasion, that part of the country. As far as Tigray is concerned, we have set up a committee that is meant to take care of the interest of displaced people, and people who are displaced from their areas and who are now in parts of Tigray where there is no conflict, or where there is little in the way of conflict. Will not be sure if that's going to be the case any longer, but at least we are doing everything in our capacity with the support of our people to take care of the interest of people who are being displaced. But the international community needs to do more. We have expressed our willingness to open humanitarian corridors for the international community to look into humanitarian issues. In fact, it's very unfortunate that people who should have known better, including the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Tibor Nagy, was squarely blaming TPLF and the government of Tigray for having committed something which was obviously committed by people who have been collaborating with Abiy Ahmed in western part of Tigray. But while even Tibor Nagy himself is calling for independent investigation, which we have been calling for, he still thinks he has the liberty to blame TPLF for being the culprit. I'm just hoping that Ambassador Nagy's remark was a slip of the tongue. But it's very unfortunate the international community, which should have been watching these things closely, is not paying as much attention to the crisis as it should have. But we also, at this point, would like to thank the people in government of Sudan for being generous enough to extend succor and support to our people who are being displaced as a result of the invasion, especially in the western part of Tigray. But the challenge is very enormous, to say the least. Second, peace has always been in our best interest, and of course we've been consistent in calling for peaceful resolution of whatever the dispute there is between Abiy Ahmed and the government of Tigray. Our only crime was that we went ahead with elections, and this must be the only country on earth where people are being attacked for holding elections. And to the extent that Abiy is interested in arm twisting Tigray into submission, I think it's not just about Tigray. He's more interested in making sure that the other parts of the country are also watching, and that there is no point for them to say anything against his excesses. While I cannot say, I cannot speak for other people, all I can say is Tigray won't countenance that kind of strident approach by Abiy or by Esayas Afewerki. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, there is a crisis unfolding. We still have to get to the bottom of things. But when all is said and done, we'll come out victorious.
Any confirmation about the missile attacks?
Yeah, but it's been an open secret that any time there is an attack on Tigray soil or Tigray interests, will continue to target whichever airport has been used to stage the attack against Tigray. For example, last time we attacked the airport of Asmara, it was not an attack against the people of Eritrea, who we have every reason to believe are clearly supporting the cause of Tigrayans. It has nothing against even Eritrean institutions which would otherwise have issues with us. It was mostly targeted against institutions and installations that are being used as staging grounds for attacks against Tigray. Yes, we have.